Warhammer 40,000, Space Marine 2's biggest update, Obelisk, is out today, bringing a new PvE map, new enemy, Twitch drops, and more. Focus Entertainment and Saber Interactive premiered a new trailer to celebrate the biggest content update to date for their blockbuster third-person action game, Warhammer 40,000, Space Marine 2. The Obelisk update is available to all players now and brings a new replayable map for the Operations PvE mode, a new Chaos enemy, a huge Dark Angels cosmetic pack for Season Pass owners, and a lot more. Warhammer 40,000, Space Marine 2 is available now on PlayStation 5, Xbox Series, Steam, and Epic Games Store. Today's update takes players back to the burial world of Demerium with a new operation titled Obelisk, available today to all Space Marine 2 players for free. In addition, players will now have to face the Tzaangor Enlightened and avoid their deadly, fast-paced attacks as it careens across the battlefield on its Disc of Tzaangor. Stay alert, as this new enemy will be found in every Operation PvE mission featuring the Thousand Suns from now on. Season Pass owners also receive the Dark Angels Chapter Pack, which comes with a new champion skin for the Bulwark class, 3 weapon skins for the Plasma Pistol, Auto Bolt Rifle, and Power Sword, a new Storm Shield skin, and over 40 unique cosmetics celebrating 8 of the Dark Angels' successor chapters. Warhammer 40,000, Space Marine 2 Update 5.0 introduces a new operation, enemy, and Season Pass content. Melee combat changes increase options, while firearms tweaks are planned for future updates. Saber Interactive has released the new 5.0 update for Warhammer 40,000, Space Marine 2, bringing a host of large changes to the game. The new Warhammer 40,000, Space Marine 2 update is now available to download on PC, Xbox Series X/S, and PlayStation 5. Warhammer 40,000, Space Marine 2 5.0 update patch notes. New features. New operation, Obelisk. In this new operation, you'll be sent to Demerium and your mission is to rotate a replica of the Obelisk to disrupt the flow of energy protecting the Aurora device. This operation takes place in parallel to the final events of the campaign. To reach the console control of the Obelisk, you'll have to make it through a tomb plunged into darkness. New enemy, Tzaangor Enlightened. A new Majoris enemy can spawn in all operations featuring the Thousand Suns. Note from our game director, the Tzaangor Enlightened is a disc-flying, melee/ranged hybrid unit. They are fearsome opponents, especially when met in greater numbers. However, catching them after parry or during a long animation makes them an easy target. We strongly advise you to use target lock to face this enemy. New Season Pass content. Dark Angels Chapter Pack. Added. Dark Angels Successor Chapters Cosmetics. Added. Dark Angels Champion Skin, Bulwark. Added. Dark Angels themed weapon skins for Auto Bolt Rifle, Plasma Pistol, Power Sword, Bulwark's Storm Shield. Gameplay and balancing tweaks. Melee. Note from our game director, the melee system has been our main focus recently. The issue that we saw is that on higher difficulties, the melee combat relied too heavily on the parry-dash-gun strike flow. This also made fencing melee weapons a universal choice for almost all situations, and we want to give players more options. To try and achieve that, we've made the following changes. First, normal melee damage has increased across the board, so there will be more options instead of just parry-dash-gun strike. Second, we are drastically changing how blocking weapons work. In short, by blocking enemy attacks, the player will accumulate up to 3 stacks of melee damage buffs. Attacking while having those stacks of buffs will spend them and will result in massive AoE damage discharge. With these changes, fencing weapons will still be great versus limited numbers of enemies, balanced weapons will be good versus big crowds, and blocking weapons will become damage dealer type weapons. Perfect block. All block weapons have been reworked with a new mechanic, Perfect Block and Adrenaline Surge. Perfectly timed blocks grant up to 3 Adrenaline Surge stacks. Adrenaline Surge stacks greatly increase melee damage and are consumed after the next melee attack. Attacking with 3 stacks of Adrenaline Surge deals massive AoE damage, staggers enemies, and restores 1 armor segment. Note that the right wrist glows in yellow after the parry, which signifies that the adrenaline surge is ready to use. When used, a red explosion detonates on the enemy hit, deals AoE damage, and regenerates an armor segment. Fencing weapons. Perfect parry AoE stagger radius slightly reduced. Balanced weapons. Perfect parry AoE stagger radius greatly increased. Mastercrafted versions. Damage increased by 10%. Artificer versions. Damage increased by 10%. Relic versions. Damage increased by 10%. Blocking weapons. Mastercrafted versions. Damage increased by 20%. Artificer versions. Damage increased by 20%. Relic versions. Damage increased by 20%. Unarmed/firearm melee. Stomps can now be chained indefinitely. Firearms. Note from our game director. We are quite happy with recent updates to firearms. Pretty much all firearms are viable on the hardest difficulties now, and our win rate/pick rate data shows drastic improvements. Still, there are a few weapons that are better than the others, and minor tweaks will be coming with patch 6. Further into the future, with patch 7, we're planning to focus on reworking weapons perks. Weapons perks are underwhelming compared to class perks right now, and the issues with some weapons are actually a result of them having a bad perk tree rather than their basic stats. The other big outstanding problem that we have is the grenade launcher. There are quite a few bugs/misconfigurations that make it the way it is. Due to a bug, a certain perk restores its full ammo when it shouldn't. Due to a misconfiguration on our side, its Artificer and Relic versions deal 4x more damage than the Mastercrafted version, which was not intended. Due to a bug, perks that increase Auspex can damage stack buffs inconsistently. Normally, all damage stacks buffs additively, thus providing consistent and predictable results. This bug results in crazy damage numbers with Auspex scan perks, depending on the order they were activated. This is why bosses get erased by grenade launchers with certain builds. If we approach this directly and fix all 3 bugs, it will make the grenade launcher useless and will hurt the entire tactical class. We will be very careful with how we address this issue. We do want to keep the fun element of destroying entire waves of enemies with the grenade launcher. At the same time, no other weapon can match a grenade launcher with potentially unlimited ammo. Because of these complications, we want to take the time to carefully analyze and make the best decision possible about the grenade launcher, so we're not modifying it in this patch. Neophokite Pistol. Note from our game director. We unified enemy sensitivity to Volkite damage with bolter damage. This means a massive damage buff to certain Majoris and extremist enemies that were more resistant to Volkite damage than others. Volkite damage sensitivity has been increased from 1 to 1.5 for these enemies. Devourer Tyrannid Warrior. Barbed Strangler Tyrannid Warrior. Venom Cannon Tyrannid Warrior. Rubric Marine. Flamer Rubric Marine. Zoanthrope. Bolt Carbine. Max ammo of all SMG-type bolt carbines increased by 1 magazine.